This is a 6.7 Cummins that we intend to compound turbo.
You haven't got it in gear, mate.
Yep.
This is not as easy as it seems.
The focus of this video is to get this engine running. Fully my fault, I didn't even think.
Not everything will go to plan.
Inside your motor, every Christmas you can take your valve cover off.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
We've got a deadline to meet. Luckily, we have Nick and Mitch
Someone said, "Dump bags!"
from KAIZAN Fab to help make it happen.
I'll crank her all night if I have to. Sorry, neighbours.
Nothing new about cranking all night. As well as using some of the most sophisticated techniques to get this build on the road.
1400 horsepower.
1700 horsepower.
Let's get stuck into it.
Alright, so what's better than one turbo? Two. Episode 2 gets 2 turbos. So, on the quest for 1000 horsepower, which we might not make straight away, but we will get there. It's going to need a lot of boost and a lot of air. So to get that, we need 2 turbos, compound turbos. A lot of tech stuff going on in this episode. Don't stress, we're not normally a tech channel, but there's a lot of interesting stuff. Nick and Mitch explain it all. They're absolute wizards from KAIZAN Fab. Yeah, 70 pound of boost incoming.
By the end of this episode, what can we expect?
We want it running!
We want it running, and we want soot, and we want 2 turbos spooling.
Yeah.
That is the aim, so...
We want all of the things and the noises. We've got Nick and Mitch from KAIZAN Fab, and also GNL. What do you do, Mitch?
I'm an air contactor in the day and then work on some race cars and stuff in the afternoons, and I've got a solid axle swap Prado that I destroy on the weekends.
Yeah, we love that. That's actually how I got talking to Mitch. Way more talented at me with this stuff. Compound turboing the 6.7. Let's run through, like obviously we got the manifold. Oh Jesus, that's got some weight too. We've got some steam pipe to make some bends. We've got some V-clamps.
This flange with the base of the 480.
There you go, T6 flange.
So this is a Borg Warner S480. So we've got a 1.1 rear on it. So normally in these setups, pretty confident for the 1400 horsepower out of that guy. This is a Pulsar dual ball bearing S363.
Yep.
With a 0.84 rear on it. Sort of probably seeing the 40 pound boost mark by like 1500.
Jesus. That's quick, hey.
Yeah.
And how's the compounds work? Little turbo feeds big turbo?
So the inlet, we have our air filter on the front of the big turbo. So it's basically providing high volume, low pressure.
Yep.
And then we use the small turbo to make it high air density at a higher pressure. So the outlet of the big turbo feeds into the inlet of the small, and then on the exhaust it's the opposite. So we feed the turbine housing of the small first, and then feed from the outside of that.
So this little one's gonna go on the manifold?
Yep.
Then the exhaust port of the turbo will feed this housing, this inlet into the housing. Okay, and then that one will go out to the exhaust.
Yep. Simply due to the turbo sizing, it's really common that we don't use gates on these big Cummins motors. So on smaller setups, we try and gate around the small turbo to let the big one take over. But when we're using turbos of this size, it's not really necessary.
Just let it eat. Yeah, no one has faith in the 8-speed yet, and I'm telling you, the boys are confident.
There's not much in Australia running around with that much power in front of one, so
That's very true.
very interesting to see.
Especially the torque. So what power level we're going to go for off the bat without doing, without doing fuel pumps, so we're going to do injectors,
Valve springs,
push rods, and the turbos.
Motor's already got the ARP studs, so we don't need to touch that gear.
ARP 2000s. Yep.
So we should see sort of 750 to 800 if we've got a healthy fuel pump factory.
That's a lot of power.
Probably like 2500 Newton meters.
Jesus. So that is literally more than double the horsepower and more than double the torque that my Cruiser's pushing. But just a bit of size comparison of this. That is a 4X Gold beer can, and for all the Victorians, this is the best beer you can buy in the world. It is absolutely massive. All right, cool. Let's start getting this stuff in.
Obviously, we can flip the manifold.
Yep.
And that's going to sling the turbo lower and further out. And then we can flip the turbo as well on the manifold. So the two main things here that we're going to think about is out of here, we're going to come forward to our intercooler.
Yep.
So we don't want that to, like right now, it's kind of a bit janky. And then out of here, we're going to come down and feed the big one, wherever that ends up being.
Yep, and I kind of figured I'm going to have to try and work this around
it.
you guys to a point, obviously.
Yep.
Your coil over's still got to be fairly straight and in the right
Yeah.
spot. But getting very custom because it's a K truck, not a Dodge Ram. So it's not a kit you can just whack in and be like, hey, this works with all the Rams. So I have a Dremel as well. I love that this bloke can just pick up someone random's welder and just lay dime bags like it ain't no thing. Oh, is it heavy? Oh, that's cute.
Then you were going to compound them. We've got 2 oil drains in the block and 2 oil feeds. It's got to be. It's actually illegal to run them without 2.
Yeah, right. There you go. Thank you, Cummins. So, mate, what are your thoughts on the Hellfire flappy disc?
They definitely flap and they definitely disc, so that's good. And it did leave a 60 grit finish, like it says in the instructions. So
Thank you, abrasives.com.au.
I would definitely buy that gear.
They're a family business, family-owned Australian business. Get amongst them. Oh, give us a look.
60 grit finish.
Wow.
Look at that.
Nice.
Beautiful.
What do we got going on here, boys? Because the flange is obviously bigger.
Yeah. Just making a little infill piece.
Very cool.
Weld back together, and then you can start it.
Yeah, sure. Nick said we had to get this shot. The G&L boys think that this turbo, that engine's gonna blow up the 8-speed. It's operation get the 8-speed in time. The compounds are going epic, but we need a gearbox that's gotta go behind it. This is just a stock standard one we're banging in for now. We'll be putting a fully built one. Leave a comment below. We could pretty much run a TAB. Will the gearbox take the power? Because there is absolutely no faith in it yet. Everyone reckons it's just gonna blow to smithereens. And especially now you've seen the turbos, it's, yeah, look.
You should have taken bets before the turbos came out.
Leave a comment below. Will the 8-speed take the power? We're looking at 700, 2,000 plus Newton meters. A torque monster like a Cummins will definitely, absolutely
We're going to test it.
test the crap out of it. Yeah. And just checking some angles. We're at 3 degrees pointing down, which puts the other one at 3 degrees pointing up. And as long as this is the same, parallel, like that, or like that, you know, everything's happy. Dan the man, Farrah's Custom Shafts. I'm going to be calling you very soon, my friend. We're going to start making a cross member, but other than that, 8-speed's in and it fits pretty good. Long story short, that's like a side profile. This is where the chassis is. And that's basically what the gearbox cross member is going to look like. Operation, clean up the inside of the chassis and paint it. Just dirty work for the afternoon. We got the carb off, as you guys can see. The audio was not working when we pulled that off. Keep getting stuck into it. We're going to pull the engine out. Hopefully it stops raining because we've got to push the chassis out. Sure enough, we're going to have ourselves some nice chassis plates going on. We're going to build some cross members while the body's off. Everything should just be a lot easier from here with the body off. It was really dusty, Simo.
Certainly was.
Chassis looking heaps cleaner though.
Sparky with a broom.
No, you see nothing. There's nothing to see here. You set me up then, you passed that to me. Next on the agenda, gonna get some plates back and just start welding down this frame. We're gonna use, I think 4, maybe 5 mil so that we can drill and tap, mount all our fuel lines and brake lights and stuff to it real nice and easily. And then possibly another 3 or 4 mil on the outside of the frame as well. TJ will be able to show you a clip right now when I was going up the test track and the tub actually flexes differently to the cab. Like it's almost like a Mack truck how the cabs sit on suspension. It's so weird, but there's just that much twist in these things and we need to get rid of that. You're supposed to have a little bit of give and a little bit of flex in your frame, but not to that extent. Not with this power level and amount of torque I'm going to push through it. Another step in the direction of Operation Build K Truck. We have Luca here from Clueless Creation. He does actually have a clue, so don't take the name literally. Luca's here to 3D scan the chassis. We got heaps and heaps of chassis work to do. It's an open C-section frame. It's what they did back in the day. They're extremely week. Once we get the chassis 3D scanned, we can mock it up in CAD, get a heap of plates made. You can actually even chassis strength through CAD. My good friend Richard designed and built, as you guys have seen on the channel. He's a wizard at all that sort of stuff, so he's going to have a look at it for me as well.
Yeah, so we're just putting some scanning markers on here at the moment. So this just helps the scanner figure out where it is in space. And then, yeah, we wave our magic wand and it makes a 3D image of whatever we're pointing it at, send to the person that's doing the design work.
And so they can take measurements and all sorts of real-time data from the scan.
So this is all to scale, so they'll get it on the computer exactly like it is
Wow.
in real life, and then you can, yeah, all the measurements you have to take in one go rather than running around with a tape measure for a week.
Wicked.
Yeah.
It's something new to me. I normally make something out of cardboard and then cut it out with a 4 or 5 inch grinder and weld it in. Yeah, we're getting legit with this car. Obviously, we're pushing big horsepower, huge torque levels. It's going to be way better than it was ever built, but there's a lot of changes. So I want to make sure it's all done right, all engineered. I want to drive this thing around Australia, so we need to make sure it's right. All right, what do you reckon, TJ? Scan the rear diff.
He's just seen how big it is.
I haven't even unwrapped this thing yet. Where's the knife? Woo-hoo-hoo! It's a big boy.
What's the scan for on the diff?
So that
You can work out your brackets on the diff. And
yeah, pretty much. I should be able to like CAD design all the brackets and the geometry of the four link, and it should be able to make it all work on a computer, basically. Onto the somewhat slow, frustrating part of building old cars. It's cleaning up all of the old metal and gunk. I've gone through, I've wire-wheeled the entire inside of this chassis. And then I'm actually gonna hit it with some 1000-degree heat-proof paint. Bonds to steel really well because it's designed for exhaust and things. And 2, I'm gonna weld a plate over this. So I'm kinda hoping that the 1000-degree paint will live up, if you get what I mean. Hopefully it doesn't burn too much paint away. I will try and get a sprayer in there afterwards and spray more paint inside. I just done one little light coat on that, and then I'll finish that off in a minute. Yeah, because we've got some chassis plates coming today, so we can burn some chassis plates in, build some cross members. As you can see, I've just welded some steel here, just so I could pull out that cross member. Got the front cross member all finished off the other night. We're getting somewhere, we're making progress, and that's the important thing. Then I'm gonna fit the motor and body gearbox back in once we've plated this whole chassis up. Simo's just rocked up. He's picked up some steel from Dan at Metalmorphic. Big thanks to you, mate. He punched out a heap of steel work. We're gonna box in the main rail for starters. I've got now that it's 3D scanned and printed, we're gonna get the rest of the chassis plates laser cut, be spot on exact. Then we can start building some cross members. So gearbox cross member, engine cross member, just get the whole chassis sweet, so we know it's not gonna move, it's not gonna twist. Just plenty of welding today and creating stuff, so it's pretty exciting. Sealing all the inside of the chassis. So now we're gonna hit this side of the chassis plate with some copper spray. Okay, so we got some of the laser cutting back from Dan. See if I got my measurements right. Me and Simo have been sweating our asses off, doing hot works, and forgot I have aircon in the shed. Our bolt-in cross member that the gearbox mount will bolt to. We're just gonna get our heights right, weld in the sides, and then I'll plate there, and I'll plate bottom edge here. I build cars for a living now, and not Sparky, so Sparky tools aren't gonna cut it when it comes to building cars. I'm tooling up. I was chatting to Pooley about tube benders because TJ really wants me to build some tube stuff for him. So I bought a Speedworks tube bender. This is a full kit they sell. It was just easier to just buy the whole kit. I also always wanted these, so these are dimple dies. Piece this together because I've got no idea what absolutely anything is yet. So the other reason, besides Pooley telling me this stuff's great, is Speedworks is an all Aussie made company. So support Oz guys, that's wicked. We're up to section 2 of Operation Blow Up the 8-speed. We're gonna finish off the compound turbo setup. Got heaps of expensive parts like fuel pump, injectors, spring, all this good stuff that we need to push you know, 700-800 horsepower. I'm just learning along the way with building this engine. I'm very excited about it. All right, I've got the KAIZAN Fab boys back. How you going, Nick?
Good, yourself?
Lovely. What are all these special, expensive looking bits I've paid for?
From the top down, we've got some dynamite diesel injectors. So these are 90 over.
So open this,
yeah, you can open them.
Or is it very fragile stuff?
Yep, so they're a custom nozzle made in the States by Dynamite.
Cool.
So they should be good well into the 1200 horsepower mark.
Ooh.
We've then got some Manton push rods, gone with the Manton valve springs as well. So that'll deal with the higher boost that we're gonna be running. Sort of from there, the first failure mode is the push rods. And then we've got a engineered diesel billet Welsh plug kit and the coolant bypass. Seems to be something that's fairly important in like long-term heat, keeping cylinder number 6 cool. So bypass just goes up to the front.
These are bolt-in Welsh plugs. So if you look up Cummins diesels on dynos in the States, you see a lot of them run so much boost that they blow the Welsh plug out and coolant goes flying all over someone's dyno.
So we just cut off the standard Borg-Warner V-band fitting because it was super long and we just shortened it up so we can get it out of the cab without having to massage things.
Yeah. Righto, so that's today's jobs. That's pretty exciting.
That's your recirc. So
built-in catch can.
Built-in catch can.
And it recirculates back into the engine.
Yeah, and it sorts it all out. There's a crank case pressure sensor, which is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, okay.
So if you go for like a 5-map select or whatever, that's how they
that's how they tune it through that.
through that, yeah.
These are obviously injectors.
Yep. So you've got a bolted on injector connection here and it's all inside the motor. Nah, so they've got a little captive nut on there so you can't drop them in.
Ah, righto.
We won't be doing these up with the rattle gun, I'll tell you that for free.
So the boys are not wasting any time. They're getting this thing pulled apart. It's a lot more involved with changing the injectors than it is on a 1VD, I tell you. We pull half the motor apart. But we're also doing push rods and springs, so there is a lot involved. I bet all the Cummins boys are Mitch Pullen and Pooley going, yeah, I know all that. I've pulled those things apart. So it looks like this is a fancy tool. Is this for changing the valve springs?
Yes, sir.
Valve spring changing tools. So.
That is certainly a borrow from Mr. Reese and Ben.
Thanks, Reese and Ben. You're the best. So here, all the fuel rails that feed the injectors have to come off. Heater grid delete through here for more maximum airflow. The AC relocation bracket, which moves everything up, which you got to do in the controls as well. So that is the heater core.
It's for when you live in Canada and it's like -10 degrees and you need the car to start in -10.
And that looks very gross in there. So that is the intake that obviously feeds the valves.
You can, in big horsepower applications, sometimes they machine it off, but we're talking like 2,000 plus horsepower, so.
Oh, so we'll need that.
Yeah, we might do that now while we're at it. Why am I cleaning and you're pulling injectors?
Oh, big strong Aussie boy. Yeah, quite the wrist action on that too, mate. You've been practicing.
Been single for a little while.
Specialty tool we've borrowed.
Yep, so it compresses the valve springs. So essentially, it's made of alley, so we can get a magnet in there. We drop this down. It's got an alignment to show what's to the rocker arm stand. So that's the rocker arm stand. We just crank the bolt down. You see the pistons at the top. It holds the valves in. We do take the collets out, pull this all back off again, fresh springs on, and away we go.
Beautiful. What holds the valves from dropping in?
The piston that's underneath there on top dead center. So every time we do a different piston, now we will do 1 and 6.
Yep.
Because they're both at top, and then we'll move it. And we'll check that with a bit of filler wire. It's all good and well to line the TDC up on the crank, but considering if it's not there, the valves go in, we'll double check it with a bit of filler.
Much smarter than I. We're working on the front of the engine now, pulling the timing case off. I hadn't actually turned this engine over at all. I was told it was a really good engine, had ARP head studs already in it.
Sorry to interrupt your audio there.
Yeah, you're wearing a mic too, and I'm like, no, I'm getting anything right. So we tried turning it over, we could only get what, like 1 or half a revolution?
We get that far away from a full turn. So maybe like 5 or 10 degrees.
Yeah.
If that.
Consistently in the same spot, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's past top dead center on all the pistons, so.
And none of the valves are open because we've got all the rockers off. We're gonna check into the timing case, cross your fingers and toes.
So this is the camshaft, crankshaft, fuel pump, and that's our oil pump.
Upon further inspection, we've found the timing gears are all fine and correct and happy days. We have lifted the front of the engine because the weight is sitting on the timbers. Looks like the weight is pushing on the sump, which is probably hitting the rotating assembly at the bottom there. With this setup, we are currently fine. Rotating freely. Bit of a waste of effort, but hey, we ruled that out.
Yeah, so the nozzles that we bought comes with this tool. So you just slot the injector in. As soon as you're on camera, you forget the first step, which is remove this nozzle washer.
Step 2, pull the
Nozzle nut off.
nozzle nut.
They're normally very tight.
We also worked out that they had plus 30s on that. They were the nozzles off an 8.3 litre Cummins.
We're in clean room 3, so we just got to make sure it's all clean.
Got the Bendix brake cleaner.
So we went through and got all the carbon out of the nozzle nut, cleaned the threads right up. In here, if you're unlucky, the little shims will move out, so you just got to be real particular. So in that center part there's a little shim as well as the collar. So you just got to make sure that that's all in there and doesn't move, and then drop it back on.
Line it up.
Tighten it
Screw
down.
There's injector nozzle replacement on a Cummins.
All the solenoid injectors are the same. So like the 4Js, the KDs, pre-VDJ DPFs, pre-DPF VDJs are all the same, but
then when it comes to the
in the piezo injectors,
Piezo's,
there's springs and spaces, and we'll leave that to the boys at DC. They sort us out.
new school ones, no, stay away.
No, well, they're Christmas decorations for inside your motor. Every Christmas you can take your valve cover off.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Sorry, Manton, not Mantic.
Manton.
There's a few reasons springs can be in this format. It's normally to stop like harmonics in the spring.
Yep.
Also because the coils, the radiuses don't lie directly on top of each other. Your open to bind height is normally a little bit better.
Push rod's going in. They're extremely long, aren't they? I guess it's...
Longer than mine, right, I'll tell you that.
These are from Amazon.
Oh, okay, sweet. Thanks.
I got my rods from the Middle Isle and Audi, so.
Lucky TJ's here. I'm too dirty to touch the cameras at the moment, so. And they went and put this stupid little ridge in the middle of this.
Up more at the front.
See that ridge there, Nick?
Yeah.
It's actually indented, so I've got to like get in there with it. Anyone would think he doesn't know how much that turbo cost me.
I've cut it off 3 times, it's still too short.
So you learning stuff, you reckon, Mac, or?
I love it.
You learn heaps, yeah. It's like 78 levels above my pay grade.
What Nick's welding on here is a intercooler pipe clamp from Raceworks.
Yeah.
Now these are badass. Where is a rather than just relying on a hose clamp, these bad boys have O-rings. Basically, the O-rings sit between that plate and there, and when these bolt on, it's like the best connection you can ever get.
You need to be a bit more excited.
Alright, so we got these bloody intercooler pipe clamps from Raceworks. Nick's just welding one on now. It's crazy. If you
Gotta keep the sponsors happy.
Yeah, you'd make a great influencer, I'll tell you. Feeds the big turbo from atmosphere.
Yep.
Pushes out that turbo, feeding the intake of the small turbo.
Yep.
It's mind blowing. But then on the exhaust side, little turbo first with exhaust, which then pushes through and feeds big turbo.
That's it.
Wild. Finishing these last bits of chassis plates, but as you can see, the chassis rails kick straight in, like they do a massive sort of right and left hand. So I templated it, got it laser cut by Dan the man, and at metamorphic laser. To get this curve in, all I did was use my my press over here. It's like, I think I paid $200 for it. It's a pretty handy tool. Put bearings on and off, you can build diffs, and you can bend some steel. What I've done is set up in the 2 blocks here. Put that in there, put the press down, and that has bent my steel for me. And then if you go too far, all you gotta do, bang in the vise, wind the vise up, and that'll flatten it back out again. And that fits bloody fantastic. Then you can buy attachments for your presses too. that you can jack down and it can actually 90-degree bend and fold steel. So it's just another little trick. I'm going to look into that next as well. We've got our man Simo back. Me and Simo today have plated in and sanded back all of the chassis. That's looking fabulous. So we're going to test fit the engine back in, gearbox back in, and hopefully get the gearbox crossmember 100% finished off. Might even test fit the body back on too while it's in there. Yeah, and then we've got the KAIZAN Fab boys coming back again this weekend, and hopefully we will get the compound set up fully finished. The injectors will be in. I've got the rocker cover getting painted, and it's just all happening really. We're kicking off, we're going hard. This is a stock 8-speed. Buckner still wants to blow up a stock one. The G&L boys think it'll last one hit on the dyno. I don't know, I'm gonna leave it up to him whether we put the built box in straight away or if we do actually try and just turn one of these inside out. We're just waiting for the adapter for the torque converter to the flywheel. It's just about ready to go. So we'll mount this up, finish off our gearbox crossmember. The focus of this video is to get this engine running. Magnetic angle finder, I do like the manual ones. That's from King Cram. And I also now have a fancy digital one that I bought through Speedworks. We've zeroed this, and then we're checking our angle. I've used a tough mount. It's actually for a ZF6 mount. Pretty much perfect what I want and where I want it, so that's a plus. And we're smack bang on 3 degrees there. The output shaft is 2.95, so yeah. Everything's 3 degrees down, which is what I like. And when we set up pinions, we want to be obviously 3 degrees up so that everything is fully parallel and you're not loading up one uni or the other. They're a pack from 8-speed, but they didn't have any packs for me, so I've been piecing things together. Transfer case, 8-speed, and Cummins back in the K-Truck chassis. How bloody exciting is that? Look at those big ass turbos. One step forward, 10 steps back. So fully my fault. I didn't even think, but Toyota transfer is one, it's probably not as strong as Patrol, but the good part is it drops both pinions about 4 inches lower, which helps your tail shaft angles. However, now that I'm running a 14 bolt diff, it is a center mount diff. These are an offset diff, and the amount of power I'm going to be running down it, I'd much prefer it to be going dead straight rather than angled. You can run angled. At the power level I'm running, I don't think it's very wise. So apparently an off-the-shelf adapter from the ZF8 to a Patrol transfer case already in existence. So I'm going to buy that. I'm going to go with the Patrol case. I could go an MP205 or an Atlas, or it's going to be a 10 grand exercise by the time you get one that's built strong, build an adapter, build a gear. 1, not cost effective, and 2, if that blows up, I'm screwed. If I blow up a Patrol transfer somewhere in Australia, be able to buy one for like $300, $400, $500. They're not that dear for a second handy. BMW gearbox can get anywhere. Patrol transfer I'll be able to get anywhere. Cummins parts you can get pretty much anywhere because they're in all the trucks. Although the truck engines are a lot bigger, but there's lots of Cummins dealerships everywhere in Australia. That is going to be the way to go. That is looking perfect though, so hopefully the Patrol one's the same offset. Fingers crossed, guys. I'm going to order some parts, spend some more money. Don't tell the missus. So as we've run into a bloody bit of a roadblock with the transfer case, this is the fuel pump for the big donk. Bought this from G&L. G&L are like the RAM experts in Australia, so they stock all these sorts of parts and all the business. I believe this is a fuel filter and fuel pump. Cool. Comes with a wiring loom. Definitely not going to use that because it's blue. Whole heap of fittings. That's handy. We got 1, 2 filters. Pretty exciting. So today we're going to figure out how to mount this, where we're going to mount it, and get it ready so that we can at least get this thing running off a jerry can. Found some stats on this bad boy. It's rated at 290 gallons per hour. Designed for the Dodge Cummins 5.9 and 6.7 litres. We could easily go for 1,000 horsepower, but we're worried about the rods because I haven't replaced the rods in the engine. If there's any American guys watching this, if you could chime in, let us know if we could go 1,000 without changing rods, that'd be great. Just remember, These engines, they're expensive to get here. So you guys are dime a dozen. I'm sure you go down the corner and pick one up for $500, whereas it's $20,000 here for one with probably 200,000 Ks. So this hole went all the way through the frame. So we've temporarily mounted the pump there. I believe when I'm finished, it's gonna mount in the back here, but that's all getting cut off and remade. Finish off the injectors and stuff this weekend. With any luck, we might be able to kick it in the guts, see if it idles. It might not. Yeah, we'll get the body back on and start looking into exhaust and things. Other than that, could just about start the coilover conversion. It's all happening. It's all happening very fast, very scary. I used the King Chrome wheel skates, and that made life just a whole lot easier to position everything around, left to right, front, back. I actually met Ben Jenkins drifting. This is actually his S15. We got along really well. I met him out drifting with Matty Hill, actually. I was telling him about this project and he's like, mate, we've got to get some Fenix gear on it. Is it Fenix or Phoenix? I don't know, you decide, let me know in the comments. 100mm core intercooler, so that is a big bad boy that's gonna keep all of our intake temps down, 3-inch outlets. And anyway, it's got thermos already on it, so, whew, and shroud. Pretty sure they make these in New Zealand. They make really good gear for drift cars, but all the 4Bs too, so your Hiluxes, KUNs, all that sort of stuff they make gear for. Fenixcooling.co.nz. Basically what we've decided is we're gonna pull the inner guards out and then possibly just try to keep everything square, put the front end back on, and we're gonna reuse these. Just gotta section out what we don't need when the coilover towers and things come through. If the car came with it, then they're probably there for a reason. Plus I like having inner guards. So I'm extremely lucky to have a Simo in my life at the moment because some heavy business about to go down. I'm somewhat impressed with how light this actually is. Yeah. Luckily, because it's a 4B as well, so it's really lovely. Oh, it's looking like a car again, how cool. Have a look at how much room is in this bloody engine bay. That is a joke. Yeah, you can fit 3 Cummins across in this. Pick up the new motor, done. Start the gearbox swap, done. Strip and paint the motor, done. So Nick and Mitch, the bloody talented lads themselves, obviously only have their weekends, so they've been coming up on a Saturday to give me a hand building this. Check out their website, KAIZAN Fab is their business. A couple of talented young men. They're selling a lot of compound turbo kits for like your 1KD, which is your N70s, and plenty of rebuild kits, turbo kits, all sorts of stuff, gated turbos, high mounts, that sort of stuff. We're gonna finish welding in all the compound turbo setup, pull the front end back off. We've already worked out our intercooler and radiator mounting and getting things roughly finished off so that next weekend, cross your fingers and toes, we'll be starting it. And that's gonna finish this episode off. Straight into it, Mitch is building the new power steering relocation pump that Nick actually designed on CAD. Nick is straight into getting these injectors in, get the cover back on and covered up. I guess we're gonna start burning in some piping and things. And also KAIZAN Fab merch, now available on KAIZAN Fab.
Hell yeah!
Boys brought me a present, I'm frothing.
Rocker gear back on, the valves in, and we're just going through and setting the valve lash. So we're going for 10 thou intake, 25 thou exhaust. We're going through and setting, basically, rather than going off the balancer, we're just going off the bottom of the lobe. So when number 6 is switching over from exhaust valve to inlet valve, exhaust valve closing to inlet valve opening, we're setting number 1, and when 5's doing the same, we're doing number 2.
So we are back purging this bad boy. Get some sexual welds inside and out. What do you mean? There's like no pie cuts there.
There's none at all.
That is so much welding.
They're all entirely necessary and not just for aesthetics.
Nut and bolt hunting. We've got the power steering pump nearly ready to go on.
What are you trying to say? My shed's not organised?
I'm trying to say Mac needs to spend more money on nuts and bolts and other hardware. All the accessories are back on the front of all the pulleys and everything. Mac's been putting the belt tensioner on, just trying to work that out. And we've been playing around with the power steering bracket. It's beautiful billet piece is looking good. It's all ready to fit the aircon compressor. The rocker cover's rocked up and that looks pretty hot too. So.
That was a great rundown. Pretty much Darren Lockyer over here.
It's bloody nice now, but it's not going to be good when there's coil towers and air boxes and batteries. Dumbags!
Dime bags, baby.
Imagine if I had a welding helmet or something.
Exclusive content while Mac's gone. Don't tell him, TJ. We know he won't review this footage before it goes on YouTube. Do you reckon like inside the AC unit? Just have to use this king chrome stool to get up on the bench. In the MIG welder. Easter eggs for Mac. All right, that's enough.
Fusion Fab. I've purchased this from, hoping it's as pretty as the 8-speed one, because the boys did a really nice job on that. Race car parts. Shiny. All right, very cool. So this is going to adapt from our ZF8 gearbox to, I'm using a GU Patrol transfer case. Currently ordering some reduction gears from Superior for it. That is the other sort of issue. From what I've researched and been told by a lot of you bloody legends out there, is a Toyota transfer actually has a really low fall-low gear ratio. Patrol doesn't have as low of a ratio. What you do is you put reduction gears in it. There's a whole range of different ones you can put in. That'll make it pretty similar to a Toyota transfer, but it's still going to be a lot stronger. And another bonus, Patrol transfer cases actually have the brake on the tail shafts. The handbrake can actually hold all 4 wheels instead of just your rears, so I think that's pretty cool when you're on a hill. Plenty of benefits going to a GU Patrol transfer case, and if that can't handle the power, I guess we'll go back to the MP205 or an Atlas, probably an Atlas. Crazy strong transfer case, it's what was already in the car. They're not very common here. In America, you probably get one around the corner, every second corner's probably got one. Over here, very hard to get. An Atlas, a built Atlas is going to cost about 10 grand. You break one, you're not just going to get one from around the corner. You're dead in the water. And that's my reasoning. That's what I'm going to go with. And let's just cross our fingers and toes and not be negative Nancy's. It's going to be fine.
I'm going to work a little bit smarter and not so much harder.
Now I'm not going to be able to actually slot this in yet because this gear on the front is obviously to suit a Patrol manual block or auto, I'm not sure. Is as I'm changing ratio gears anyway, the new gears are going to get cut to suit the 8-speed. Just going to dummy it up with some long bolts for now, see where things are going to sit. Then I'm going to get this bad boy down to 8-speed and let them work their magic. I had all this steelwork laser cut. Had to be this thin because the Toyota transfer drops down. Don't want it too far this way so your tail shaft has clearance. So I was in a bit of a catch-22 with this gearbox cross member. Now that this Patrol transfer case doesn't twist down as far, which means our pinion angles won't be as good, but I can make the cross member bigger. So I've decided to change the whole layout. 2 bits of tube, plate across the middle. Then it's going to look better. If rocks hit it, it's going to slide better. Everything's going to be happier. Good morning, welcome back to another beautiful day in the shed. Been waiting for some parts, finally came and here it is. Starter motor, I know. Exciting stuff. So this is off a 2019 Plus Dodge Ram. I'm about to see if it fits, but it should fit. Cross our fingers and toes. It's gonna start. I actually read something interesting just before. It says, don't let the internet rush you. No one posts their failures. It's so true. So it's taking time. I'm doing my best to get you guys 1 episode a month with updates, but I don't want them to be boring, you know? I don't want to be like, today, we welded an intercooler pipe. So I've just been absolutely injecting money into this thing. This is a 150 amp alternator for a ZD30 GU Patrol. The adapter kit that I'm using from Bruce as it's designed is a Patrol alternator, and I'm kind of happy with this because this is a lot easier to get if I drown it or stuff it or break it. So I can get one of them pretty easy. Dodge has gone, look guys, people are gonna probably compound turbo these things. So they've actually put 2 oil outputs right there on top of the filter. How bloody handy is that? We've got to make a line that goes from there to the top of the core of the turbo there. So that's obviously where all the bearings and spinny stuff is. So long story short, these are just designed to be compound turboed. They want it, they're asking for it. Besides that, I went down to Autobahn and I picked up
start engine button, some battery terminals, some battery cable, so we can rig up a battery. So it's time to make the lines. We've got the Raceworks jaws in the vise, which is really handy because steel is going to damage the alloy and squish the alloy, whereas clamps, which magnetize on, won't do that. So that's a plus. Oh, look at that. Okay, that's what this tool's for. Put the olive on there, then feed it down until it's all the way on. Oh, that is fantastic. Have ourselves an oil line. How good.
Actually got the last of the welding done on all these pipes. Well, Nick has. In case you were wondering, I didn't do any of the welding.
And I thought you did.
No.
Oh, I did not do any of it either because I'm just not confident in my TIG welding yet. But I'm gonna do the next project.
Is everything connected or what?
Yes. There's many connections and they're all connected. And if they're not, we're going to find out real quick.
Nah, I've got to fit another one of these big donks in that hole, but I don't think they're going to fit.
I'm sure if you're watching the video to this point, you'll know how much work it has been to get to this point. Come on, Mac, this is the last of our problems.
Well, it's kind of the first of our problems.
He's a bit overconfident, you reckon?
He might be.
I am a little scared, like this engine might even not run. Like,
We've got to check the oil's safe. Lucky enough, Cummins have set us up here. We can see that it's safe. And then we're just gonna bleed the diesel up to the pump to make sure the supply pump's working. And then we're all gonna stage ourselves.
I'm gonna stand outside.
I've seen these explode out of cars.
You know, when they do those tractor pulls and stuff.
Yeah, and it just goes bash.
Joking.
Yeah, we got throttle down there, we got everything. We're ready to do pumpies. Rub.
Can you just make sure that you haven't got it in gear, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the ECU only runs it for 10 seconds on a key cycle. So you just have to keep cycling the key. We have.
There's fuel.
We have.
We have fuel.
You want to see?
Ah!
Woohoo! Good start. Good start.
Once there's fuel in the rail, it should start.
Oh, we're close.
We're just trying to look for something to see maybe Oh no. So we have an RPM signal. Maybe you just check all the random things. So go maybe TPS again and just see if the pedal works.
Update, we're just going through the codes. I'll crank her all night if I have to. Sorry, neighbours.
Nothing new about cranking all night.
Oh, my fizz.
He's clever and knows what he's doing, and I know how to hold a multimeter.
So we're confident?
I'm Nicholas.
That's soot fired out the tank.
Ready?
Well, that was a success. It's alive.
What have we learned?
Like the crank position sensor.
You know where we had this exact issue in a Jeep on the teletrack?
Which, no, that was the camshaft sensor, but it's pretty much the same, yes.
Supposedly the critical sensors need to be plugged in.
Yeah, the funny part is he goes, it doesn't make sense. All we need is crank sensor, fuel sensor, and it should just run.
And I was right, that's all.
You were right, that's all I needed.
Look at that, the first guys to start a compound turbo 6.7 Cummins in a K truck.
On the Sunshine Coast.
In the world.
In the world.
World's first game changing.
Well, only one's
1200 horsepower?
1400 horsepower.
1700 horsepower. Mark.
That ends this one, and stay tuned though, because I'm trying to get 1 a month, possibly 2 episodes on this K truck out. Like I said, I don't want to bore you guys with, today we welded this. I want start to finish jobs. Let's get it done. There seems to be something missing here.
Big gap here.
Big gap here, and there's this weird steel thing here that I don't want that there anymore either. The next episode, we're looking at coilovers. I know leaf springs like to party, but coilovers party harder, trust me. We're coilovering in the front of this with an off-road design kit that I bought literally 2 years ago. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the alarm button, comment, like, do all of the things.
Otherwise you may miss the next build.
You'll miss one, you don't want to miss one, surely.